So today we have a 2004 Nissan Maxima, and the complaint is the AC intermittently doesn't work. Right now, if we look down here, you can see the AC compressor is running and it's blowing cold air. They said it was working today on the way to the shop, but occasionally they'll shut it off and restart it and it won't work. I've done a network scan using the snap-on scan tool. Well, actually it doesn't support a network scan. And what did we get for fault codes? We got a fault code in the engine control computer for running lean on bank 1. I had a quick look at the freeze frame, and it was lean on both banks at the time. That's a secondary issue. No codes related to the actual air conditioning. Now, I quickly looked at how the air conditioning works on here, and it looks like the intelligent power module right here controls the relay that controls the fan or the compressor, but based on inputs from the instrument cluster, and yet that is not here. So I'm scanning it with the Autel scan tool. Why is it asking me to attach photos? And in the Autel scan tool we can get engine, tranny, and I'm sure the same fault codes are present, but there is the meter. So I'm going to have a look at the meter here, which is, I would assume, is the instrument cluster, and see if it shows the status of the ambient temperature sensor. Because apparently the ambient temperature sensor occasionally will fail and indicate that it's colder than it really is, so it disables the AC. And I don't see it there. Sad thing is, this module is not even available to scan on the snap-on scan tool. Neither of the scan tools would support auto ID of this vehicle, so can't really fault them for that. Water temperature meter, fuel meter, distance. So that's not going to help me. Well, I'm going to find the ambient temperature sensor. It's supposed to be on the left side of the rad, but I can't see it. So there's the ambient sensor right in front of the left side of the rad, just below the bumper. The wiring to it looks okay. That apparently is an input to the instrument cluster, which they call a meter, and it doesn't show up in the data list. I heard the compressor cycle off and then back on again, so we're going to watch and see what the request is in the IPM when the compressor cycles on and off. Right now it shows on and the compressor is running. So the AC compressor just cycled off, and you can see, and back on again. So I would say it's working normally now the way it should be. And why it doesn't work sometimes is hard to say. I'm going to see what happens if we disconnect that ambient temp sensor. So I've disconnected the temp sensor. There it is there. And it doesn't disable the AC with an open circuit. The connector looks clean, corrosion free. There it is there. No signs of any issues with it. I'm wondering if that sets any fault codes in the instrument cluster. So let's read codes in the instrument cluster now. So even with that temp sensor disconnected, there are no codes. Now this has electronic air conditioning, but there's no diagnostics with the scan tool available. At least it doesn't appear with either scan tool that we have that capability. So it's going to be difficult to diagnose this thing unless it stops working. So this apparently is the intelligent power distribution module. It's not labeled as to which relay is which. There is a legend here for the fuses, but no relays. So I go in the information system, and as you can see here, it shows that relay right there is in the intelligent power distribution module, but it doesn't show it as a serviceable relay or non-serviceable relay. Here's another diagram showing the actual module. So ECM relay, headlight relay, headlamp low beam starter, ignition. On this side, throttle, fuel pump, fog lamp, cooling fan. Does not show that relay. And all data has no location for that relay. So it might be integral in the power distribution center. So I found the theory of operation of the magnet clutch control. It says when the AC switch or defrost switch is pressed, the instrument cluster and the AC amplifier inputs the compressor on signal to the BCM. The BCM sends the compressor on signal to the ECM via the CAN communication line. ECM judges whether the compressor can be turned on based on each sensor, so it looks like it monitors refrigerant pressure, etc. If it judges compressor can be turned on, it sends a compressor on signal to the intelligent power distribution module via CAN communication line. Upon receipt of the compressor on signal, which is the one we were watching on and off, turns the air conditioning relay on to operate the compressor. So where is the relay? I'd like to look at it. I'd like to check the pins on it, maybe swap it, but it appears it may be integrated into the intelligent power distribution module. Not given up yet. Well, so far all indications are that relay in the AC, for the AC compressor clutch, is not serviceable, and it's in that intelligent power distribution module engine room at right front corner of the engine compartment. So let's take a look at the refrigerant pressure sensor. This AC is working flawlessly. It's an input to the ECM. I don't think that shows up in the data list. I'll have a look. Well, monitoring the data in the ECM on the Autel scanner, the MaxiSys here, it shows the status of the AC signal on, relay on, and the pressure sensor, and it's within range. So I'm going to find that pressure sensor and have a look at the connections to it, and if they all look good, I think we're going to have to call it a day, because it's got to be broken in order to find out why it's not working. Well, this is a better picture of that ambient temp sensor. I went to the refrigerant pressure switch sensor, and looks like it's on this side, right there. We'll go have a look at the vehicle. The lines here. No, I don't see anything obvious. So there it is, right below that condenser block. You can see just below the high and low pressure lines on the condenser, there is a threaded in pressure sensor. Man, that's not easy to get to. Well, we're going to shut it off and have a look at the connections at least. So it's a typical 3-wire pressure sensor connector. The wiring looks good. I don't see any corrosion. I did unplug it and the compressor quit immediately. I'm curious as to whether or not it'll set a code in the ECM for the pressure sensor being out of range. It theoretically should, and if it does set a code, then theoretically there should have been a code if this was our problem. So the only code we had is the same one we pulled with the snap-on scanner, was the air-fuel ratio code. I would hope that if that code was active, it wouldn't disable the AC. I've seen some of these imports disable cruise control when there's an active fault code, but I've never seen them disable AC. But regardless, disconnecting that pressure sensor killed the AC but did not generate a fault code. That's interesting. The customer also mentioned that their aftermarket remote car starter wasn't working. I see the hood pin switch is corroded off, and this wire was laying down on top of the brake master cylinder, so that could have grounded and disabled the remote car starter. So I think that switch just grounds when the hood is open and kills the starter. if the hood is open for safety reasons. Well, the snap-on scanner shows AC pressures and air conditioning command on and off in the engine data. So I can't see anything wrong with this vehicle at this point. I can't get it to quit, so I'm going to have to either have them bring it back when it does quit or get permission to drive the vehicle for a day or two until it acts up. Maybe we'll be able to capture it.